honestly. After game 1, that's not surprising. They were demolished by a level 1 Roshan strat. It was close cut. Trust did get their heads and poked into the Roche pit, but it was a little bit messy over there. While Next Generation, they got their Alchemist up to like 20k net worth in 20 minutes at 1000 GPM. Absolute beast mode in that game, but got a different draft, different day. And I can welcome in my co-caster as Trust go back to one of their old favorites, Chaos Knight and Wisp.
Yeah, and I like that that's where they start, because remember we saw the IO being banned in the second phase last game by Next Generation, and I think Trust recognized that if they want to have a draft they're dictating the terms in, they need to just commit to it early on, which is what Next Generation did in the previous game. Oftentimes people think certain kinds of heroes, like the IO or the IO combination, or for example the Alchemist, it's risky to take in the first phase, but one of the advantages of taking something like that in the first phase, you kind of declare very clearly your intent, and you get to shape the thinking of both drafters for the draft. And I think that Signature wants to be able to do that this time in order to bounce back. They don't want to be sitting around thinking about how they're going to deal with the Alchemist, and then all of a sudden the game starts and there's a level 1 rush strat, and like they just don't get to collect their thoughts at all.
Yeah, and at this point you can see the thought process of Next Generation. Do we go for like the Disruptor, the Winter Wyvern, all these kind of Wisp counter heroes? But it's going to be the kind of classic Tidehunter, not pigeonholing themselves into anything too much. Tidehunter's good all-round solid offlaner, as well as being pretty damn decent with the Ravage, with the relocates in from the Wisp and CK. Now, Trust banning out Meepo there. I don't know if that's a direct knowledge ban against Next Generation, or if Meepo is just that good against Wisp CK.
It's good against Chaos Knights, I think, but it's also an odd hero to ban if you don't think the opposing team plays it, so I would take that as information that NG actually do run Meepo. NG ban out the Beastmaster, pretty standard. It's the Nature's Prophet is global presence with the IO, and the Beastmaster is really good setup for the IO. It's also just Beastmaster is one of the better offlaners at the moment. It's that necro timing and you can't deal with it.
For now, TA taken out as well, as Assassin may be pretty decent against the CK Wisp mid. Don't know exactly where Trust are going to be running this though. It'll be the safe lane, Chaos Knight, if they really wanted to. No Nature's Prophet for Boom Belt. This does mean that usually Jabs will switch back onto the off lane, and his Bat Rider is pretty damn strong. I wouldn't be surprised to see them just go for the Bat Rider at this point, or maybe they want to wait a little bit later on into that draft. Decide which direction they head, because offlaners, especially in this patch, they've been prioritized in the banning stage quite significantly, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing about the bats is that there's already a Venge first pick for Next Generation. Some teams think that that's like quite a hard counter. Other teams see it as like, okay, well, it's a bit annoying, but that's not really, the bat expects to make pickoffs when the Venge is not always around, or just goes on the Venge sometimes. And it's a very good setup for the IO and the CK, like I was saying about the Beastmaster, and that's especially when you're catching people off guard who are still pushing the map. So I don't think the Venge is necessarily a reason to just not pick bats at all, but I think it might be something they're thinking about.
Considering taking their time over this one, Earthshaker. Huh. What's the thought process behind that one?
They want a hero that can dictate the fights, that like have an impact on the team fight. And when you're against the Tidehunter, there's limited options for heroes that like. I almost feel like the Tidehunter's presence goes above and beyond whatever that other hero is, whereas Earthshaker, because you have that range on your fissure, you can kind of interfere with the Tidehunter's control over the fight, despite not getting caught in the Tidehunter's AoE. I think that's my thinking behind it. Could be totally different to what they're thinking. Kind of makes sense to me.
Not a common hero. We saw MVP pick it up yesterday against Fnatic, I believe. Bebby tried to play that one. It was definitely kind of a safety pick, just sit behind the mid laner and try to control these lanes when there were some active roaming and ganking heroes available. But Next Generation with the Zeus, again, more AoE, lots of nuke damage. Got that global vision from Thunder God's Wrath if you really want to go that direction, but you're going to know pretty much who he's going to be targeting in these team fights. It's going to be the Wisp. You're just going to try and zap him down as often and as dangerously as you can, while Trust go back for the Necrophos. What is going on?
Right, so is this just because the Iron Necrophos healing combo and having a lot of heal to deal with Zeus spam also quite useful? I mean, Do we think that the IO might actually lane with the Necro and not with the CK? Is that a possibility? Like, I don't know how they could lane the CK though.
I think Necro safe lane is the best way to go for this, and have just the CK Wisp towards the mid, but they do have options if they want to go the other way around, and have maybe Necro Wisp mid with a CK plus a Witch Doctor or something.
Team Secret used to run the aggressive Wisp plus Necro plus 1, and they used to just run at people's towers at level 1 or 2 and do really well with that. But again, I don't think you, I mean, what, then you leave your CK soloing the safe lane or mid doesn't seem quite right to me.
I believe your lane's a little bit wonky. Generation. Heroes to pick up, and it's going to be the Spectre. And this time the Vengeful Spirit's going to be the one role, going to be that support hero, at least that's the way things look. Spectre's going to be this annoying presence that's going to be sitting on a lane farming away and get relocated on, but with that Spectral Horn, as soon as she hits level 6, you've got these two global ultimates between herself and Zeus. Against a couple of pushy heroes like Necro and Wisp, I could demolish straight through their HP very early on.
Yeah, it's a great way to focus out the Wisp at the start of a fight, having this global strategy, so I think it makes sense. And it also, to me, it explains the Necro pick a bit more as well, because if you go way back when Dota 1, I feel like Necro was considered one of the hardest counters to Spectre just because of spamming those heals and like removing the damage from the horns. Similar to how Witch Doctor might be with Voodoo Restoration, and I think that maybe Signature Trust could have anticipated there's probably going to be a Spectre pick once there's a Zeus pick and they have a Wisp. So I wouldn't be that surprised if this is a Necro that actually rushes mech and just focuses on healing a lot.
Yeah, go for the Treads mech. I mean, we saw it yesterday from this Trust lineup. You know, just a couple of heroes that we don't see often at all, but we've seen both of them from MVP yesterday, and in the same game. Earthshaker and Necro were picked by MVP, and Febby and MP played them. Did go for like Treads mech and tried to get the Earthshaker. Well, on the Necro, tried to get the Earthshaker a blink, but now final picks. Trust. Like they need, more likely than not, their off-lane hero here. Could be that Queen of Pain, but no, Phoenix is still out there, the Bat Rider's available, and when you're looking at these lanes from next generation, and sure enough, you've already mentioned that the Vengeful Spirit's annoying with that swap. It's going to be a Doombringer though. Playing Doom's not something we've seen too often in the recent past. Definitely was a popular pick, while next generation, their final support pick, what do you reckon? How about
I think they might want a defensive, some kind of healing, sustain support. Maybe I'm sort of looking at Dazzle. I'm not sure why. It just feels like Doom right now, dooming any of the cores on next generation is really going to hurt them for a fight. Like delete them from that fight and potentially lead to the death of the Zeus or Spectre. Might not kill the Tide, but Silencer doesn't really have a whole lot to do if he gets doomed. And they get the task. Okay, so it's not sustain, it's not heal, but it is an opportunity to save or counter initiate or protect allies, and I think that's important. The task may be more versatile than Dazzle in the sense that it can also apply pressure, can also be roaming and proactive and aggressive. You pick the Dazzle, you sort of pigeonhole your lanes, and you know the enemy team only has to worry about Venge rotations then.
Well, it looks like it is going to be the Wisp CK mid, Jabs and MyPro going to be the pairing there, and Fame out on the Earthshaker. So Boombell's Doom heading towards the off lane, while Lakel's looks like it's the safe lane Necrophos for him. While over on the Radiant, what do we have here? Off lane Tide, Tengu the one roll Spectre, Thoughts of Vengeful Spirit and Tusk, and of course the Zeus mid for the Liar. This time no burst out for him, but we'll see if he can burst people down with his lightning. Zeus towards the mid lane.
Do you think either of these offlaners are going to buy early Iron Talon?
I think Boombell kind of has to. But against the Tusk and Venge, you know, we kind of see, especially from European teams and Chinese teams, securing the safe lane for the first 2 minutes or so is very important. No longer do we see, you know, for like prime example is Jirak Tusk, right? He used to go level 1, try and roam in, Ice Shard block, and look for the kill at mid. But recently at the Shanghai Major, he sits bot lane, stacks and pulls, goes to safe lane, gets some farm there, forces the offlaner away, and then once he's hit like level 2, level 2.5, then he goes and moves towards the mid. I think Venge and Tusk down at bottom lane, they can control his Doom pretty damn nicely. He's got 0 armor, they've got a couple of stuns and plenty of damage between them. Doombringer, he's going to have a pretty rough time, but of course he does have that Devour to try and farm through this large camp over to the side. Maybe no Iron Talon then. He has gone for the Stout Shield, so it doesn't look like it. Well,